Accountability is coming. Accountability for survivors, accountability for all the individuals that this Epstein class has harmed, has hurt, has assaulted. Accountability is coming. And right now we're seeing that internationally. But I think that here in the United States, we are going to hear the screaming and the shouting and the people demanding accountability get louder and louder. And Donald Trump saying, I've been vindicated, is not going to work much longer. That's what we saw happen today, as you had the former Prince Andrew Mountbatten, was arrested in the United Kingdom for his involvement with Epstein. Donald Trump on Air Force One saying, I feel really bad for Andrew. I feel really bad for the royal family. They're really good people, Donald Trump said he's an expert in this. And that followed Donald Trump holding this bizarre peace board thing that he's doing, where he invited all of these individuals. Mostly the people who showed up were from authoritarian regimes. No one really from the European Union other than Orban there. None of the US's top former allies there, as Donald Trump listened to YMCA with the head of FIFA as Trump whined about struggling to get up the escalator at the United Nations, whatever the hell that was. Then Trump went on Air Force One to say that he's an expert when it comes to Epstein and that he's been vindicated and he feels bad for Andrew. We'll talk about that. You have the former president of South Korea, Yoon, was sentenced to life in prison. That's what Donald Trump deserved, except our Supreme Court was weak and pathetic. But in South Korea, justice was handed down. President Yoon Suk Yeol sentenced to life in prison. And in fact, the court was saying maybe there should even be a bigger punishment, because when you are involved in insurrection, that should be worthy of the death penalty. That's what they were saying in South Korea. We'll talk about some additional findings within the Epstein Files. We're learning more from some great reporting people like Roger Sullenberger and others, talking about how some of the individuals who made accusations against Donald Trump were interviewed multiple times by the FBI, but those reports have not really been produced in the current batch of files. We know there's terabytes and terabytes of data that have still not been produced by this despicable Trump regime. Remember that letter Epstein sent to Larry Nassar, or was alleged to be sent by Epstein to Larry Nassar, referencing Donald Trump right around the time of Epstein's death, that the MeidasTouch was the first to publish, to which the FBI and Trump's DOJ attacked us and said, this is clearly fake. It's not real. We've determined that the handwriting is clearly not Epstein's. Well, we actually have the findings contemporaneous. Back in 2019, 2020, when the FBI sent the handwriting to handwriting forensic analysis, it was determined to be inconclusive. That apparently, despite the fact that Jeffrey Epstein basically was writing every single day, they claim that they could not find enough handwriting samples of Jeffrey Epstein. And then finally, you have the Les Wexner deposition that was taken in Ohio. He's the individual who gave Epstein about $1 billion. This is the guy who made his fortune off the parent company of Victoria's Secret and other companies like that. He's now 88 years old. He claims that he was duped by Epstein, although there's some very suspicious video at his deposition as well, in addition to him saying, I don't recall, of his lawyer saying, shut the F up, I'm going to effing kill you if you say more than 5 words. Just want you to think about that. We're going to talk about that and more here on the MeidasTouch Podcast. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Brett and Jordy. This is where we're at.
This is where we're at indeed. It's good to be here with you, brothers. It's good to be here, Midas Mighty. Everybody watching us live on YouTube, everybody listening on the audio podcast on the MeidasTouch Podcast. Welcome. You know, it's interesting. I was speaking to a friend earlier who lives in the UK, and I was like, you know, quite the news cycle today for you guys. Yeah. And she was like, Yeah, she's like, it seems like we have something that's missing in the States right now, and that's a word called accountability. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's must be nice, must be nice to see. But we're seeing across the world right now the fallout from these Epstein files hitting individuals at the highest levels. People who were involved with Epstein being put under investigation, getting arrested, getting thrown out of their positions. But here in the United States, we're taking a different path, I guess. This Trump regime and this Department of Justice is acting like a protection racket for the Epstein class and for everybody involved with Jeffrey Epstein. And it is incredibly disturbing, but we are going to keep pushing for accountability. We keep finding new revelations from the Epstein files, and Donald Trump keeps digging the hole bigger every single day, even as he says, oh, I'm exonerated. Everything is okay. I had nothing to do with it. Oh, I'm so sorry, Prince Andrew. I hope you're okay. I really hope you're okay, my old friend. The whole thing is so weird. It's so obvious. It's criminal. It's offensive to the survivors. It's offensive to the victims. But we are going to continue to highlight everything. And we're also going to obviously speak about all the other news as well. There's a lot going on. Jordy, what's the latest on your end?
What's up, brothers? What's up, Midas Mighty? I'm excited to get into tonight's show. And look, just where you guys left off, we need to force accountability, right? You have to make sure that accountability actually happens. And so I'm going to call for it right here. I don't think any Democrats should attend the State of the Union. These aren't normal times. You shouldn't subject yourselves to listening to, at best, a pedo protector and someone who was mentioned over 1 million plus times in the Epstein files spew lies and hatred and hurl insults at half the country. In my opinion, and I feel pretty damn strongly about this, like, just fuck sitting there in silence. Don't show up. Don't give him your dignity. With the release of the Epstein files to date, as you were alluding to, we are beginning, and I want to emphasize that, just beginning to see some semblance of what accountability might look like, but not with the president of the United States, who's mentioned over 1 million times. Like, what are we even talking about? It's a non-starter, whether it be Prince Andrew, who got arrested, as we mentioned, that's a start. Peter Mandelson's resignation, that's a good start. Wasserman being forced to sell his business, it's a good start. The chief legal officer and general counsel at Goldman Sachs, she announced her resignation. It's a good start. The list goes on and on. But where the hell is the accountability for the president of the United States? He's the main character of the Epstein files. And to all the Democrats thinking of attending the State of the Union, that's who you're going to give an audience to. Why? Because you're worried that it goes against norms or customs? Screw that. These are not normal times. Don't show up.
I want to dovetail off that and remind people that the MeidasTouch Network is hosting the official boycott of the State of the Union. We will be having a physical presence outside the Capitol building. We're working with Move On. We're the exclusive distributor of the People's State of the Union, which will be taking place at the same time of the State of the Union. It will start about an hour or so before. We have multiple members of Congress. We have senators. We have House of Representative members who will all be giving speeches. The last count is about 20, and I expect when all is said and done, that number to be significantly higher. But as of now, just think about it. 20 individuals from Congress boycotting who will be attending the MeidasTouch's People's State of the Union. And they will each be bringing constituents or people from their district who will also be giving you the perspective about what the American people are going through right now and how Trump's policies have significantly harmed the American people. Why don't we start by showing you the deposition portions here of Les Wexner? The Democrats showed up for this deposition, but not a single Republican Congress member showed up. Just want you to think about that. Not one. They did not want to even be there to give it any attention at all. Well, that doesn't work in 2026. Okay. The MeidasTouch Network exists. Independent media that we've helped encourage and promoted exist. And we're going to make sure that people see what actually went down there. And just think about this. They get ordered by Trump and MAGA Mike not to show up. Why? Les Wexner is a massive GOP donor. Not only did he give money to Epstein, but he gave a lot of money in the form of donations to Republicans in Ohio and to the Republican Party in general. And so the Republicans wanted to show solidarity with Epstein, with the Epstein class, with a major Epstein co-conspirator. I'll have you watch what took place. For those who are listening on audio, you may not listen carefully. For those who are watching, you'll be able to see it. But in this first clip I'm going to show you at Les Wexner's deposition, he's answering a question, and then his lawyer literally says the following. You all know I don't like cursing here, although Jordy started the episode with a rare curse for the MeidasTouch Podcast because he's angry. But I'm just going to curse right now and tell you what the lawyer said, because as an academic matter, I need to share with you the evidence as an evidentiary matter. So Wexner's lawyer says to his client, I will fucking kill you if you answer another question with more than 5 words. Okay? I'll fucking kill you. Now, I've been a lawyer for a long time. I'm a law professor at USC. I used to be a litigator. I can't even fathom an opportunity where I've heard someone say to their client, I will fucking kill you. But I guess in this world, that's what they do. That's how they cover this up. I don't know what the hell we're watching, but watch it. Don't close your eyes. This is what's happening in plain view. Let's play it.
It was just regularly done. Answer another question. 5 words, okay? Answer the question. Okay.
Okay. Now, what types of questions did he not want his client answering? What type of questions does Donald Trump and MAGA Mike Johnson and the Epstein class not want Les Wexner to answer? Well, here he is talking about fashion shows. Let's play it.
Did you ever spend time with Epstein and Donald Trump?
Together?
Yes.
I would answer this question accurately. I would go to some of the Victoria's Secret fashion shows because it's very important to the brand. At some of the fashion shows, Jeffrey was there and some Trump was there. And I remembered because Trump would always introduce himself to me. And I always thought it was kind of odd that he was at the fashion show because he had nothing to do with fashion.
Okay. Well, where did Epstein get his money from, Les? Did he get it from you and other wealthy men? Play the clip.
Is it, Mr. Wexner, is it your testimony here today that Mr. Epstein's wealth came from not only yourself, but also this extensive network of clients that also were wealthier, otherwise influential individuals?
No question. Absolutely.
But do you take any responsibility, Les? Or are you going to say that you were just conned by the Olympian of con mans? Tell me, Les. Let's play it.
I think the perspective that I have now, and I think what's really important for this group to understand, is that as I look back at it, I was conned by the world Olympic all-time con artist. And and you look at, I read in the news all the people he knew, royalty, kings, princes, and all that. An incredible con artist.
Do you think
That sounds an awful lot like not taking accountability. You just give people $1 billion. That must be nice. Just give people $1 billion. Here you go. There you go. You created a company that made billions of dollars. And you're telling me that someone without really a financial background at all just conned you into giving them $1 billion for nothing in return, like you expect us to believe that? That's
Craziest
about
part
it.
about it, right? Like it's not like this was over, he stole a couple $1,000s and like how could this billionaire have noticed that $10,000 left his account? Epstein took like $1 billion from the guy, and the guy put Jeffrey Epstein, then virtually unknown quantity, a guy who his whole career path raises a whole lot of questions, many of which are still unanswered. The whole thing is weird and bizarre and confusing. The guy was a college dropout. He then ended up teaching math at a prestigious school. Then suddenly he's working at Bear Stearns. And then suddenly he's put in charge of Les Wexner, this billionaire who owns all these companies' finances. And Wexner gives him full control over all of his finances and gives him like all of his money. Take all the money you want. And without Les Wexner, let's be clear, there is no Jeffrey Epstein. Les Wexner, his money and his influence and his power is what enabled Jeffrey Epstein to do quite literally everything that Jeffrey Epstein did from that point on. And so for him to play dumb about this during this deposition, and especially that lawyer's reaction that we heard, I think that speaks volumes as to what we're seeing.
Ben, could you ever imagine sitting there and saying what that lawyer said to him sort of mid-deposition? I mean, even after the fact, I think it would be, a pretty heated exchange if you would say that to your client. But what's the mindset of a lawyer in that situation? Because to me, it just feels like, to what you said, not accountability. That it feels like a cover-up in progress, from my opinion.
I just think that these people can't help themselves right now. I don't think that lawyer, I don't think these people are used to people looking at them and analyzing them, and the populace of this country condemning them and saying, what the hell is this? They are used to no accountability, and that behavior is just what they do. As Donald Trump said before, when he says he grabs women by their vaginas and you do it when you're rich, he goes, that's locker room talk. He said, that's how we talk to each other. That's just what it is. When you run beauty pageants, Donald Trump says, what do you expect me to do at a beauty pageant? Of course I look at the little girls naked. I show up, I look them up and down. And when you're the inspector, you get to do it. And when you own the pageant, you're an inspector. Or when Howard Stern would say, so you're like a sexual predator. Yeah. I mean, this is what these people say because there were no levers of accountability. And this is how these people interact. By the way, if this is how they interact in public, what the hell do you think is going on in the Zorro Ranch behind closed doors? What do you think is happening on Epstein Island? What do you think is happening in the house on the Upper East Side or in West Palm Beach behind closed doors? And of course, you know why the survivors were so afraid to share their story, because these people had you killed. These people tortured and terrorized and trafficked you. And so, of course, the survivors were scared. I mentioned the Zorro Ranch. That wasn't even investigated, y'all.
It's crazy.
They didn't even do a search warrant on the Zorro Ranch, where a lot of the sex trafficking took place.
And by the way, Ben, we keep seeing this theme come up over and over again. Les Wexner was asked, has the Department of Justice ever tried to contact you? I mean, you're a named co-conspirator in the Epstein Files. So surely at some point, the Department of Justice interviewed you, called you in for more information. Les Wexner goes, no, never spoke to them once. Nope, never happened. You'd think you'd start with speaking with the co-conspirators if you're at the Department of Justice. That would be a part of your investigation. But no, and I think, it's worth mentioning or highlighting the fact, and you brought this up earlier, the brands that Les Wexner runs, Victoria's Secret, Limited Too, clothing brands for women and young girls. This was the world that they lived in. And of course, with the Victoria's Secret comes the Victoria's Secret fashion shows, which were these events that Epstein would always be at, and Trump would always be at. And we know that a big part of the web, and I'm not accusing Wexner of anything in this, but I think it's worth noting that a big part of this sex trafficking scheme, and there's been so many good articles on, by the way, the Wall Street Journal has done incredible reporting on Epstein, to their credit. And when you look into the stories about the Epstein sex trafficking scheme, modeling agencies played a major role, because that sort of allowed them to make their actions look clean, almost like the way like money laundering, kind of works. What they would do is they would give these young girls, oftentimes in other countries, which made these girls dependent on the people who were giving them money. So they would go to like Russia, for example, or one of the Russia satellite countries. They would get a young girl, a modeling scout, like a Jean-Luc Brunel, the French modeling scout, who was also found hanged in his cell a few years after Epstein, who was being prosecuted for this like similar crimes, buddy of Epstein's. They would put these people on modeling contracts, quote unquote modeling contracts. They would send them to the United States for Epstein and for Epstein's associates, and they would be there on visas under the guise that they were getting paid as models, but really they were being sex trafficked, and they would have to live in Jeffrey Epstein's homes, Jeffrey Epstein's properties, and they relied 100% on Epstein to survive. And I think that's also an important part of this entire story, to show you the ways, the devious nature in which people like Epstein and people like Brunel and those in their inner circle trapped these girls and young women, trapped them in this world by making them reliant on them for their survival, and teaching them, grooming them, telling them that the way you make it in this country, the way you make it in this world, and if you want to be successful, is by giving sexual favors to people like Jeffrey Epstein and his associates.
And Brett, of course, right? No one reached out to Wexner from the DOJ. We're witnessing an active cover-up. We're witnessing a cover-up in progress right now. It's so odd. Donald Trump has so weaponized the government in ways that go well beyond anything we've seen. This is what I'm saying. Like, this is what we have to just force the accountability here. Anytime Donald Trump's name is mentioned going forward at any conversation, it should be immediately followed with his association with Jeffrey Epstein and the cover-up of the Epstein Files. It is damning if that is not the case. It needs to be on the tip of tongue of anybody who ever utters his name.
Yeah. Let's also, as we're trying to search for accountability, right? You have a truth commission that's been formed in New Mexico. Epstein had this ranch that he bought in 1993 from a former governor of New Mexico, because Epstein rubbed shoulders with business leaders, governors, royalty, etc. So he got this ranch. It's about a 27,000 square foot ranch on 10,000 acres. It's in Santa Fe, in a city called Stanley. And we know from the files, we know that there were some of the most horrific acts of sex trafficking, sexual torture, and potentially murder that was being committed there, potentially bodies being buried in the area. There's some allegations of that. We know that there was a lot of the sex trafficking took place there. No search warrants executed, no subpoenas, no one ever, the FBI showed up there in 2006, 2007 in connection with the West Palm Beach investigation. And then they were speaking with the house managers, who started talking about how Epstein would fly in with helicopters with these girls, and he would say they were masseuses. And then the FBI met the house managers at the office area, and then the house managers got a call from main office, Epstein, saying, don't speak with the FBI. And the FBI just left. There was no further investigation there. Right around 2019, right after Epstein's death, we see correspondence in the files from the DOJ telling the New Mexico AG not to do an investigation into sex trafficking. It literally says, do not investigate sex trafficking. We're going to handle that. And then that was never handled at all. And now we know that the Zorro Ranch was purchased in 2023 by a guy named Don Huffines. He's a MAGA Republican. He's a big Trumper, this guy, Don Huffines. The Huffine family made its money a few generations back in the automobile dealership industry. Don Huffine's son, Russell, young guy in his 20s or so, but has a senior type position within the current Trump regime. Don Huffine's purchased the Zorro Ranch mysteriously in 2023 using an LLC called San Rafael as the LLC. Well, yesterday or 2 days ago, Don Huffine's, right after this Truth Commission was announced that was going to do investigations into the ranch, and there's a lot of interest in the ranch, Don Huffine's goes on OAN to do an interview with Matt Gaetz, who was found by the House Ethics Committee with substantial evidence that he engaged in underage sex, which I call rape, under which you should do, underage sex, in the House Ethics Report. And you have Gaetz interviewing Huffine's, and Huffine's saying that he's now turning Zorro Ranch into a Christian retreat for children, and that construction's already underway now. So they've already got the bulldozers there, everybody. They're turning Epstein's Zorro Ranch into a Christian retreat because now he says he wanted to buy this property because he knew how bad it was, and he was doing this for Jesus. Out of the goodness of his heart and for Jesus, amen, he had to buy Epstein's ranch because he had to make it good, because the devil was there. And so that's why he wanted to buy this, to turn it into a Christian retreat. I kid you not. Watch what this MAGA guy who's running for state comptroller, mind you, he was a Texas state senator. He visited Moscow in 2018 to try to promote relations with Putin back in he's one of those MAGAs. Here, play this clip.
Now, you have plans to take something evil and bring it into goodness, bring it into light and positivity. Tell us about that plan.
Well, of course, that is the main reason I bought the property. This was obviously a dark place, and we wanted to put light in a dark place. It always shines the brightest when you do that. My faith is so strong in Jesus, and it really is. And I'm going to make this, the plan all along is to make this property into a Christian retreat. As a matter of fact, it's under construction today. And that's our goal. That's why we named it San Rafael. We named it Saint Raphael, as you probably know, an archangel, and his what he does and helps people with is healing and being the healer, and also blessing those that are traveling. And we think that's really germane to this property.
Yeah, you think we're stupid. You just think we're pretty stupid, huh? That's kind of what you think.
I've never seen more red flags in my life in a statement. That's bonkers. And obviously it's all exacerbated by the fact that he's talking to frickin' Matt Gaetz. And, I think I just have to emphasize that this guy Huffine's is like, he's a big Trumper, big time MAGA guy, very close to Trump. I mean, this is a guy who would be at the Trump rallies. There's clips of him at the Trump rallies throughout the campaigns. He's been with Trump for a very long time. These are inner circle people. And so when I see somebody in Trump's inner circle who buys the Epstein property, and then that's his excuse, every warning sign is blaring for me. And then when you see the cush treatment that his son is getting by getting this White House gig. So the son's previous job before becoming the associate director of agency outreach for the White House, which is like a pretty big position to get in the White House, right? His previous job was he was an owner of Boom Bazaar Fireworks in Dallas, Fort Worth. Boom Bazaar Fireworks. So the Boom Bazaar Fireworks store to associate director of agency outreach in the White House pipeline. That's not suspicious.
That's nuts. But they're turning it into Brett. Archangels and Jesus and light
for the
and
kids.
The Bible,
Come on,
kids. I mean, I bought this for this.
Talking to Matt Gaetz. He's talking to Gaetz.
Matt Gaetz. But all right, we've got a lot more to discuss. A quick reminder: make sure you hit subscribe. You see how close we are to 6 million subscribers. Let's try to hit it before the State of the Union. I think there's a shot that we can do it. Let's get to 6 million subscribers this week. One way you can help this network too is after you watch this, just go and text message 5 to 10 friends that you know and say, hey, they're very close to 6 million. Can you subscribe? Why don't you give this show a shot? Why don't you watch it? You see they come with facts, receipts, and evidence. take a look. That's one way you can help us. If you want to help us by helping build this network even more, you can become a member of our YouTube channel. You can click join. You can gift memberships to others. Check that out. And also go check out our Substack as well at MeidasPlus.com. You can check out our merch at store.MeidasTouch.com. We're going to take our first quick break of the show. We'll be right back. We've got a lot to discuss. See you soon.
Ask any small business owner, they'll tell you finances get messy quick. A bank account here, QuickBooks there, tax and invoicing apps stacked on top. Before long, you're buried in expensive tools, behind on books, and unsure where your business really stands. That's why there's Found. Found eliminates the clutter by giving you one platform that handles it all. Banking, bookkeeping, invoices, and taxes. No more paying for multiple subscriptions and dealing with clunky, outdated apps. Found identify the tasks that create the most hassle for small businesses. Things like categorizing expenses, preparing for taxes, managing invoicing, budgeting, and they built an app that does it all directly from your business checking account. They've automated things like tracking expenses, finding write-offs, and budgeting for tax time. You can even send invoices for free and pay your contractors. Everything all from one app. Found makes it easy to regain control of your business finances so you can get back to doing what you love. Just think about the stress of juggling multiple apps, chasing receipts, or dreading tax season. Now imagine what it's like to have everything, banking, bookkeeping, invoicing, and taxes handled in one place. Found understands the unique challenges facing small business owners and entrepreneurs. If tax season stresses you out as much as it stresses me out, you'll be thrilled to know that Found estimates your taxes and helps you set money aside. I've never felt more in control of my business finances. Take back control of your business today. Open a Found account for free at found.com. That's FOUND.com. Found is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services are provided by Lead Bank, member FDIC. Join the hundreds of thousands who've already streamlined their finances with Found.
Let's talk about something we all want, peace of mind. For me, that starts with knowing my home and my loved ones are safe. That's why I trust Simply Safe, the security system millions of Americans rely on to protect what matters most. And this month, I'm excited to share an exclusive offer with you, 50% off a new Simply Safe system when you order today. What I really like about Simply Safe is that it's not just reacting after something bad happens. Traditional systems wait until somebody's already broken in. Simply Safe's Active Guard outdoor protection helps stop trouble before it even starts. Their AI-powered cameras are backed by live professional monitoring agents who can detect suspicious activity around your home. If someone's lurking or acting off, those agents can see them and actually talk to them in real time, turn on spotlights, and even contact the police before they ever get inside. There are no long-term contracts or cancellation fees. Monitoring starts at about $1 a day, and you get a 60-day satisfaction guarantee. It's also been named Best Home Security Systems by U.S. News and World Report 5 years in a row and ranked #1 in customer service by both Newsweek and USA Today. So why wait? Protect your home today and enjoy 50% off a new Simply Safe system with professional monitoring at simplysafe.com/Meidas. That's simplysafe.com/Meidas. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. I didn't do the what is it called? I don't know. I didn't do the housekeeping. I didn't do the housekeeping at the beginning of the show. So close to 6 million subscribers. Ben, I know you've mentioned it, but I like to say it too. We're like 25,000 away. 25,000 subscribers away from hitting it. So please hit the subscribe button right now. It's totally free to subscribe. Just hit that subscribe button. You might think you're subscribed to the MeidasTouch YouTube channel, but you might not actually be. So just give it a quick double check. And if you're not, hit that subscribe button. Benji, where to next?
Where to? When I saw that clip of Don Huffines, what's the kid's place? What was the name that it was called?
Bizarre Fireworks or something.
Bizarre Fireworks or something. But I think of him. I think of Gates. I think of Les Wexner. I think of all these people. I mean, do you remember when Donald Trump a few months back was asked about the Epstein Files and the release and everything that was happening? This was a few months back. I remember Howard Lutnick was standing right behind Trump as well. So as Trump's lying through his teeth and also like demeaning the survivors and people who are saying to release these files and we need transparency, you had Howard Lutnick who was like I just want you to visually watch this, because this is what the Epstein class thinks of you in every regard. And for those on audio, listening on audio, it's Howard Lutnick who's like, his like shoulders keep going up, but he's like laughing hysterically in the back as Donald Trump is covering up the Epstein files from a few months ago. And of course, we know that Lutnick was giving interviews where he's been lying to people and saying that he only met Epstein once in 2005, even though he purchased his townhouse from Epstein. By the way, both townhouses were originally owned by Les Wexner. They were Les Wexner's homes. So Lutnick and Epstein lived in Les Wexner's homes, basically. And Epstein took it over for himself and then sold Wexner's home to Lutnick. Do you see how this all...
And wasn't there something in the files too with Lutnick's home that said like Lutnick bought this multi-million-dollar home for like $10 or something, and that there were allegations that it's like some sort of money laundering front, or whatever kind of crimes they were potentially committing?
Let's just take a look at Lutnick here. Let's play this clip.
Respond to the Epstein situation. Is he hosting some kind of gathering of top advisors this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation?
I don't know. I could ask you that question. I don't know of it, but
About how to respond to the Epstein situation.
I don't know. I could ask you that question.
Just very weird behavior too. Like, what's so I don't even understand the joke.
For the audio listeners, he was audibly cracking up in the background,
as if it was the funniest thing he's ever heard. Right?
Like uncontrollably laughing.
And the question was, there have been stories that you and your cabinet are having an emergency meeting to try to block the release of the Epstein files. And this was when the discharge petition was being circulated, and they were trying to figure out how they could pressure Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene to withdraw their names. And you had Howard Lutnick there laughing like it was the most hilarious things. And that's when, and Trump still says, it's a hoax. It's all one big Democratic hoax. And it's like, not only is it not a hoax, you see what's happening with Andrew Mountbatten in the UK. You see what's happening with Poland creating a truth commission there. You see what's happening around the entire world where there's accountability coming. So this is not, just think about what has already happened as a result of these files. And now imagine what's in the millions and millions of documents that they haven't produced, that they're still covering up millions and tens of millions of documents that are worse than what has been produced.
Because just think about all the lies that we've already heard from these people. They're all like go by the same script, right? We saw Lutnick in that New York Post interview a few months back where he was like, I knew the guy was disgusting the moment I saw him, and I never spoke with him again. Then the Epstein files are released, and Lutnick's going to the island with his family. There are conversations about, we're going to send Lutnick's nanny's resume to you, Jeffrey Epstein, even though you don't have any children. I don't know why you need Lutnick's nanny, but Epstein was getting Lutnick's nanny, and Lutnick was sending information about his nanny to Epstein. And then they're forced to admit that their relationship was even deeper than it was, but they still go, oh, but I was conned. It was I didn't know, how could I have possibly known? The guy was friends with everybody. And you see that pattern with like everybody, right? Elon Musk was like, Donald Trump is in the files when he was mad at Trump. I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. And then it's like, okay, you release the files, and the files are like, Mr. Epstein, please let me come to the island. I really need to go. What are your wildest parties, Mr. Epstein? I really need to let loose. And then the guy still denies it. But these people keep getting caught in these lies. They keep trying to act like they're victims. And then the more information that comes out, the more it shows that they actively pursued this relationship with Epstein. They actively wanted to go to the island. They wanted to engage in whatever behaviors they engaged with Epstein. They loved the secrets that they shared with Epstein. Like, you start seeing all of these things, and you realize they're all going by the same script here, and they're all using the same sort of language to try to cover up this behavior.
Absolutely. And you also see you see the progression here too. So at first they're the heroes of the story. Lutnick, oh, he was disgusting. I distanced myself from him right away. I smelled it on him. Trump, oh, Trump was an FBI informant. He wasn't friends with Jeffrey. No way. He was trying to figure out what was happening. That's why he's in the Epstein Files a million plus times. They're so disingenuous. And once they realize that narrative, because of the files to date that have been released, totally blow that narrative up that they were the heroes in the story. Well, now they pretend that it's not a big deal. Oh, I've been completely vindicated by all the materials that have come out. What are you talking about? I don't want to answer questions from this. It's not a big deal. To me, it is so disgusting, and there should never be a time when Donald Trump's name is mentioned again where you don't immediately associate the connection with Jeffrey Epstein forever, for eternity. That needs to be this guy's legacy of who he is at his core.
Look, here's Donald Trump on Air Force One when he was asked about, the question was, should there be accountability in the United States that we're seeing internationally? And then Trump answered it by saying he feels bad for Andrew and Andrew's family. Here, play this clip.
That was not a good one, Peter. What do you think?
I got a question about something big overseas today. The former Prince Andrew arrested by the police there, related to something with Jeffrey Epstein. Do you think people in this country at some point, associates of Jeffrey Epstein, will wind up in handcuffs too?
Well, I'm the expert in a way because I've been totally exonerated. That's very nice. So I can actually speak about it very nicely. I think it's a shame. I think it's very sad. I think it's so bad for the royal family. It's a very, very sad. To me, it's a very sad thing. When I see that, it's a very sad thing to see it and to see what's going on with his brother, who's obviously coming to our country very soon, and he's a fantastic man, the king. So I think it's a very sad thing. It's really interesting because nobody used to speak about Epstein when he was alive, but now they speak. But I'm the one that can talk about it because I've been totally exonerated. I did nothing. In fact, the opposite. He was against me. He was fighting me in the election, which I just found out through the last 3 million pages of documents. Yeah, please. Yeah.
You said today on Iran.
Okay, I mean, it's a demented response. He's obviously not vindicated. The fact that he doesn't show a scintilla of support for the survivors and that he feels bad for Andrew and the royal family. And then he says that he's an expert and that he can talk about this nicely. What does it even mean? You can talk about a sex trafficking ring nicely? I don't even understand. I don't understand the expression. What does that mean nicely? Right? I mean, again, just a demented individual.
Think about, I feel bad for Prince Andrew, Ghislaine Maxwell. I wish her well. It's never a word of sympathy about the victims. It's always feeling bad for the perpetrators every time.
Yeah, because that's who he identifies with. That's the Epstein class right there in action. And we're showing you multiple data points of how they protect themselves. And what do they use? They use Epstein class media, state regime media. And then they muddy the waters, and they treat everybody like they're stupid. They're like Donald Trump. His name is on there like Whoopi Goldberg. It's just everybody's name is on this thing. So what are we even talking about here? It's Trump and Whoopi. They didn't do anything. Trump and Whoopi. Also, the Whoopi Goldberg reference is Trump's obsessed with Whoopi Goldberg also. Anyway. Here, play this clip.
It's very hard to know because very little is reported. But there are athletes leaving, for example, on almost a daily basis, the Endeavor agency because of relationship apparently between its founder, Casey Wasserman, and Jeffrey Epstein. There's the Victoria's Secret CEO, Les Wexner, who has a very deep relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. There's former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, who spent a number of nights at Jeffrey Epstein's home in New York City. So how do we do it, Hugo? How do we parse simple affiliations that may include the likes of Whoopi Goldberg or Donald Trump and the real wrongdoers in their relationship with Jeffrey Epstein?
But I know the way people have been doing it forever. And also, they just get the most basic facts wrong. Wasserman, not that it matters. I mean, it does, I guess, if you're Endeavor and you're being accused of that. But Wasserman's the Wasserman firm. Like, I don't even know who writes these things. Like, who puts these slop scripts in front of him? Endeavor is a different agency than Wasserman. Like the way you deal with things, Will Cain, is you look at the facts of things and you research them and you read them and then you show evidence and you show facts and you investigate. That's kind of the way. Who knows how you do anything? How are we even here? I mean, it's just the dumbest questions in the world. And then if you just want to see what else is going on in that Cain show, they keep on talking about penises and vaginas and bisexual. And are you bisexual? Are you gay? Are you not gay? I mean, again, with everything going on, they have just watch Cain brings in this guest, and they're
do I have this clip?
Do you not have this clip? It's a weird buildup if we don't have the clip.
This is a wild buildup.
I was like, I don't know if I have this one, but
where it says stop scrolling, you're not bisexual, by the way. It's a lot of girls that are calling themselves bisexual and start.
I'm just gonna have to assume you made this one up. I'm just I don't see it. That's great.
Moving on. You're gonna have to trust me on this one.
That clip does exist, Ben. I for the record, I know what you're talking about.
Okay, I don't need to show it.
I think Ben is just making this up. I think
Brett's setting you up right now.
No, I'm just
kidding. Donald Trump, though, do we have the one where Donald Trump says that Barack Obama breached classified documents by saying aliens are real?
Yeah, I got that one. I'll play that right now.
I would love to have China and Russia. They've been invited. Yeah.
Something that got a lot.
You need both. You need all persuasions. No discrimination.
Something that got a lot of attention this week. Barack Obama said that aliens are real. Have you seen any evidence of non-human visitors to Earth?
Well, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. You know?
So aliens are real.
Well, I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. He made a big mistake. He took it out of classified information. No, I don't have an opinion on it. I never talk about it. A lot of people do. A lot of people believe it. Do you believe it, Peter?
Well, the president can declassify anything that he wants to. So if you want to make an announcement,
I may get him out of trouble by declassifying.
We know illegal aliens are real.
Yeah, illegal. Only illegals. What else?
Based on what you've been told, what do you think happened to?
Objectively, that's a demented human being.
So stupid.
He made a big mistake there by revealing classified information. I mean, Donald Trump, literally the guy who stole classified information, nuclear secrets, put it in his ballroom at Mar-a-Lago, right? The guy who loves his ballrooms, had the classified information in the ballroom, in showers, then obstructed justice, then had his own Judge Eileen Cannon, dismissed the case, claiming that the very idea of special prosecutors doesn't exist under our Constitution. The idea of special prosecutors isn't a thing, despite there being special prosecutors everywhere else, right? There are special prosecutors who investigate everything from Iran-Contra to Hunter Biden, right? But when it comes to Donald Trump stealing classified information, the idea of a special prosecutor doesn't exist. You know, when I think about accountability, though, I also think about how our despicable Supreme Court is really responsible for a lot of this too. And they're in the Epstein class, those six right-wing Supreme Court justices who, I mean, the best way to think about them is they are protectors of the Epstein class. I mean, just think about it this way. Our Constitution was created as an objection to kings, no kings, right? That's the declaration of our independence. To our Constitution, the main principle was no kings, no absolute immunity, right? Yet our Supreme Court invented a concept called absolute immunity for Donald Trump. Why? Because they're protectors of the Epstein class. What do you think protectors of the Epstein class would want to create for themselves? The equivalent of a invincible cloak, right? Remember, from the movie, invincible cloaks, like they create absolute immunity and say that's what was really intended in the Constitution. Well, even in the UK, where they have actual royalty, they strip the royalty of their royal titles and then criminally prosecute them where there's real royalty. And in the United States, which was created as an objection to royalty with no absolute immunity, we create this fiction. In Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro is in prison for 27 years. In South Korea, President Yoon's now in prison for the rest of his life. But yet in the United States, I saw somebody post this, and I'll try to find the tweet or the Blue Sky post. But in the United States, while all of that accountability is happening, Donald Trump sues his own government, our government, the IRS, for $10 billion, that the taxpayers have to give Donald Trump $10 billion. Right? I mean, that just goes to show you how, Scott Shapiro, how sick and broken our system is right now. All right, play that Fox clip, though, of Will Cain, so people just don't think I've like lost my mind, please. Just play the clip.
You made it up. I hate to. I'm just
Play
kidding.
it.
I'm just kidding. I'll play the clip.
Right.
I think we're on the right track.
Stop scrolling. Stop looking at porn. You're not bisexual. By the way, you pointed this out, Link, in your pre-interview. It's a lot of girls, a lot of white girls that are calling themselves bisexual and start making mistakes, according to Link Lauren. Good to see you, Link. Thanks for being here.
Great to see you. I'll see you soon.
All right. Let's have.
I'm just going to keep my mouth shut on that one.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Never a good thing. I'm baiting you, Brett. But so while all that's going on, I'm not going to show a ton of clips of Trump at this Board of Peace thing because it's absolutely ridiculous. But suffice to say, authoritarian regimes showed up. No European Union country other than Hungary, Viktor Orban, who's trying to destroy the European Union, showed up, and Orban acknowledges that. Why am I the only one here? Because no one wants to be associated with this thing at all. Donald Trump's like, and we're going to oversee the United Nations. Like, no, you're not. What are you talking about? Trump was like falling asleep during it. And then he was spending most of his time whining about the escalator shutting down, that the escalator didn't work at the United Nations a few months back, or whenever the speech was. It was September. The escalator stopped working, and then
Still talking about that, eh?
Melania had to say, I was talking about it, earlier. I was like, I'm thinking about like something that happened to me today, where I went to a bubbleologist for my 16-month-old girl.
What's a bubbleologist?
Went to a bubbleologist at the local library, and I was driving her there, and we got there, and
Are we supposed to know what that is?
A bubbleologist?
Yeah, what's a bubbleologist?
I didn't want to say anything in case it was like a medical thing.
Is it a known? Is this a known thing? Like, oh, of course, I went to the bubbleologist earlier.
Went to the local.
You said,
Went to the local bubbleologist this morning.
There's the bubbleologist right here.
I don't know what this is.
I can't even see.
Are those balloons?
And
Ben's holding up his phone, like as if
Ben is showing us his phone, which is
Ben.
really,
Your phone is blurry.
is
I see the
filthy.
back of a person's head.
Your phone is filthy.
Can you see the bubbles?
No, I can't see. I don't know.
I
Are they
think I
blowing
see somebody
bubbles?
in spandex. Oh,
okay, so they're doing like cool big bubbles.
Got it. Brett.
Got it.
Obviously, the bubbleologist, bro.
See, you come to this show, you learn some unexpected information that you didn't know you were going to learn when you came in. It's like, yeah, so like it was, like a normal Thursday. I went to the bubbleologist. Of course, yeah.
I was driving to the bubbleologist today with Minna, and there was no parking spots available. And so I
common bubbleologist issues.
And so I was told there was going to be parking. So I parked across the street at the nearby shopping center. But imagine like a year from now, right? Just randomly on the show, like that story sticks in my mind though. I'm like, and there was
I'm never
no
gonna forget
parking and they screwed me over. I mean, that's Trump talking, dude, the escalator shut off. Okay, get over it, man. Like,
I think this story is actually going to stick with us for a very long time.
The bubble. Here, play this clip with you.
In my last speech, they did turn off my teleprompter. I got up there. My teleprompter didn't work. I'm sitting in front of all of you people and more. I had no teleprompter. I knew I was in trouble because I'm walking up. The teleprompters are over here. I had the most beautiful speech ready. I was all set to knock them dead. First, I had an escalator that stopped. You know that. It's going up. Boom. It's lucky my movie star first lady was in front of me because I put my hand on a certain part of her body and I was able to stop my fall. Otherwise, because she had no trouble, I said, boy, that was a very sharp stop, Johnny. So I said, that was strange. I've been on a lot of escalators. It's never happened before. Usually it stops very slowly. This was just boom. But our first lady was right in the proper location for me. I'm waving to people, and she was holding on a little tighter. She knew what was happening.
Jordy got too excited about the bubble.
Jordy's gone dark.
Jordy's gone dark. The bubbleologist strikes again right there for Jordy. Can we just show the incident that he keeps talking about, though, just for a moment? Like Like it's like 2 seconds, the thing shuts off, then he walks up the steps. This is the event that has traumatized him with everything that's going on in the world. It's this.
You're going to push Zelensky for peace, President Trump.
There's Trump walking up the steps. The escalator is at the UN, and the escalator stops.
President Trump
and he goes back up the steps. I mean, that's just, I mean, nothing happened. And I think, remember it came out also that the reason why the escalator stopped. Yeah. He didn't like you making fun of his bubbleology. And he takes his bubbleology seriously. I remember it came out also that it was like a Trump staffer's fault that they the cameraman or something ran ahead and triggered the emergency stop. And that's why the thing stopped. The fact that he's still talking about it. But that's the thing about this MAGA movement. That's why all this talk about, when they try to be oh yeah, we're alpha, we're this, we're that. The whole movement is based on them pretending to be victims and them whining about everything.
Well, because it's part of Epstein class mentality. They victimize. It's human psychology. It's sick, but they victimize people, and their shield is to perpetually play victim on everything.
And that's how they justify their actions also. I'm the victim, so now look what you made me do. Look, I had to do it because you did this to me. I had to. You gave me no other choice. It's kind of the same thing with every sort of situation.
All right, let's take our last quick break of the show. When we come back, more talks on bubbleology, bubbleologists, bubbleism. We'll talk about that more. No, in all seriousness, when we come back, we'll talk about some other critical issues facing our country. A reminder, the MeidasTouch Network is hosting the official boycott of the State of the Union address. Go and check it out. We have commitments from about 20 members of the House of Representatives and Senators.
Yeah, it feels like every minute we're getting buzzed with new people who are telling us they're boycotting and want to join this. So check it out. It's going to be Tuesday, the night of the State of the Union at 8 p.m. Eastern. 8 p.m. Is it 8 p.m. Eastern?
Yeah, it's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern, but it'll probably
and it's going to be on the MeidasTouch YouTube channel. So be sure to check it out there.
We're almost at 6 million subscribers, y'all. Let's hit it. Let's hit it this week. All right, let's take our last quick break of the show.
You know how with dog food, it always feels like you have to choose either fresh and healthy or easy to store and serve, but never both? Well, you don't have to choose anymore thanks to Sundays. Sundays was founded by a veterinarian and mom, Dr. Tori Waxman, who got tired of seeing so-called premium dog food full of fillers and synthetics. So she designed Sundays, air-dried real food made in a human-grade kitchen using the same ingredients and care that you would use to cook for yourself and your family. Every bite of Sundays is made from real meat, fruits, and veggies. No kibble, no weird ingredients, no fillers, and honestly, that's why I love it. I try to eat quality food myself, and I want to feed my pup the same way. Since switching, I've noticed she's had more energy and has been in a noticeably better mood. Plus, it's incredibly easy. Just scoop and serve. No freezer, no thawing, no prep, no mess. Make the switch to Sundays. Go right now to sundaysfordogs.com/Meidas50 and get 50% off your first order. Or you can use code Meidas50 at checkout. That's 50% off your first order at sundaysfordogs.com/Meidas50. sundaysfordogs.com/Meidas50 or use code Meidas50 at checkout. MEIDAS50. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had one of those moments where you look at your bank statement and think, how am I spending this much every month? I definitely have, and honestly, a big wake-up call for me was realizing how many subscriptions were quietly stacking up. Things I signed up for once and forgot about, or worse, things I was paying for more than once. That's when I started using Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. One of my favorite things is how it tracks subscriptions and lets you cancel them right inside the app with just a few taps. No hunting through emails, no waiting on hold. It just handles it. It also gives you a clear view of your finances by pulling everything into one dashboard, checking, savings, and even investments so you actually know where your money is going. And the budgeting tools are huge. You can set goals, get personalized insights, and even receive real-time results for big transactions or upcoming bills. It's the kind of visibility that helps you plan for bigger things instead of wondering where your money disappeared to. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/MeidasTouch. That's rocketmoney.com/MeidasTouch. rocketmoney.com/MeidasTouch. MEIDASTOUCH.
Shout out to our sponsors. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links. Use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. Benji, where to next?
The Epstein class, man. It's
wait, real quick. Lutnick, I can't describe it. He looks like the Joker from The Dark Knight. Doesn't this look just like Lutnick for the video viewers? Everyone's saying yes in the chat.
Okay, I see it.
Absolutely. I was like thinking, I'm like, who does he remind me of from the bank robbing scene in The Dark Knight when the Joker was wearing the mask? That's
not like, to be clear to the audio listeners, this isn't like what the Joker just looks like normally. This is a mask the Joker wears.
Mask that he's wearing in The Dark Knight as he robs the bank with the hair kind of like slicked back, and it looks just like Lutnick.
Let's get into it. Epstein class continues. Over here, Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer's husband has now been barred from entering the Labor Department headquarters, the one that has Donald Trump's image all over it. By the way, Trump has put his image all over the Department of Justice building today. There's a massive billboard with Donald Trump's face on it right over the DOJ. Nothing says impartial justice like having Donald Trump's fascist face on the DOJ building, the Department of Labor. But I digress. Lori Chavez DeRemer's husband has apparently been barred, according to New York Times, from entering the Labor Department headquarters after two female staffers accused him of sexual assaults inside the building, according to New York Times. One alleged incident was captured on security cameras and is now part of a criminal investigation. There's also an internal investigation regarding Lori Chavez DeRemer using taxpayer dollars to go to Vegas and travel around the country and gallivant. There's allegations that she's having an affair with her staffers as well, that she has been engaged in drinking and all this other horrible conduct that has been taking place there. And I mean, I could pretty much go to any cabinet level position and kind of, just over the past. Better know your cabinet members. Lori Chavez DeRemer under internal investigation. By the way, the person who's conducting the investigation of her was accused of having affairs with people in the congressional office before he was voted out of the office as well. That's who Trump's appointed to basically conduct internal investigations there. While Lori Chavez DeRemer's husband is banned from the office because of sexual assault, and sexual assaults were allegedly captured on video camera. Better get to know your cabinet members. When Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is not terrorizing and torturing Americans with ICE and Border Patrol mass Gestapo, she's flying around in a $70 million jet paid for by the taxpayers that's currently on a lease. But she's demanding that the Office of Management and Budget purchase this executive jet for her. It features a bedroom with a queen bed, showers, a kitchen, 4 large flat screen TVs, and even a bar. And it's widely reported that she travels with Corey Lewandowski, who people say she's having an affair with. That's widely reported and being discussed and alleged out there. And so, as our editor-in-chief posted, the Lewandowski suite at the DHS Mile High Club. And that's the bed, $70 million for this state-of-the-art private jet that taxpayers are paying for, while she and her boyfriend apparently go city to city torturing Americans. Better get to know your cabinet members. While the United States is on the eve of going to war with Iran, as we have 2 aircraft carrier groups, the Gerald Ford Carrier Strike Group and the Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group, along with tons of air assets, naval assets, multiple other Navy ships. And while it appears we may be entering into a protracted war that no one is really even talking about, what is Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth doing? Well, he's with Dr. Oz climbing trees together. Here are some photos of them on a play date together. Here, Dr. Oz says, here we are for our beachside brunch, and we're Mediterranean feasting together. That's what they're posting. I'm not even going to play for you the cringy Hegseth videos where he is lifting weights, and I'm not going to play the weird Kid Rock RFK Jr. videos where they
I just never knew when fascism came to the United States, it'd be so freaking lame.
Weird.
I just like, what are those photos? Like a play date is
a
actually the best way to describe whatever the heck that was.
You know, it's always an interesting thing, like having to explain this weird stuff to people who aren't consumed by it, like we are. Like we were going through like Instagram or TikTok last night, my wife and I, and the Kid Rock video with RFK Jr. came up of them with their shirts off, like going into with RFK going into like a cold plunge with his jeans on, and them like in a sauna together and all the weirds. And she was like, "Oh, this is like an AI video or something." I'm like, "No, this is a legitimate video that the United States government put out on their official accounts. I can't tell you why, but you could do this better know a cabinet member thing with RFK Jr., right? As well, with his relationship, we could say with Olivia Nuzzi. Like it just one after the next, like all these people are engaging in very kind of similar behavior while they act holier than thou. And I'll just end it.
Well,
there.
I mean, you could go RFK Jr. I mean, there were warnings on the Department of Health website telling parents, do not, if you have children with autism, do not give them bleach because they could die. And there were a lot of these quacks like RFK Jr. saying, give your kids bleach, it'll stop their autism. And you know, whether it's raw camel milk or chlorine dioxide, lots of people being very predatory on people who want to help their children. And RFK Jr. is one of the biggest purveyors of medical disinformation out there. And so they deleted from the Department of Health website warnings not to give your children bleach. I just want you to think about that. But by the way, better get to know your Department of Health secretary. Today, the Department of Health, or Unhealth, along with Trump, they announced that glyphosate-based herbicides are going to be back in vogue, and they're going to be promoted. And those who do, remember all like those Roundup lawsuits, because there was lots of link between glyphosate and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and there were all these cases, and the company that was behind Roundup like went bankrupt, and they had to sell the company. Well, the Trump regime is protecting it. Do you know who was one of the biggest people who was purportedly fighting against the glyphosate and Roundup? It was RFK Jr. He's one of his platforms is the herbicide glyphosate is one of the likely culprits in America's chronic disease epidemic. Much more widely used here than in Europe. Shockingly, much of the exposure comes from its use in wheat, not as herbicide. From there, it goes straight into our bodies. My USDA will ban that practice, is what he said on June 14, 2024. But also, RFK was one of the people who were behind, like starting 10 years ago or around that time, these big lawsuits against Roundup. And there were these big mass action cases that were filed. And this was a major platform when they were talking about MAHA. Well, you know, now all these MAHA people are like, I can't even believe what I'm reading. And it's the House Committee on Agriculture saying, thank you, Trump, for acknowledging the importance of glyphosate-based herbicides in American agriculture.
I mean, surely someone like RFK, who made this such a big plank of his entire identity as he was going to become health secretary and campaigning, surely he would speak out against Trump. Oh, no, Trump decided that he was going to increase the production of these chemicals. And so now RFK is all about it. All about it. And that's why these people are scam artists. These people are grifters. These people are liars. And this MAHA movement is actually a really... It provides a window into how their propaganda works, I will say, because one thing that they did that was interesting, and one thing that RFK Jr. was actually very effective at, and this MAHA movement was effective at, is they kind of skillfully co-opted long-standing issues that were typically, I would say, more progressive issues, right? Speaking about toxic chemicals in food, speaking about pesticides, you know, things you'd see in like that movie Food Inc., talking about artificial dyes, ultra-processed food. Like these were, historically speaking, part of like that sort of crunchy wellness and organic food community that existed that was very much more of like a liberal left-leaning thing. And RFK took those issues, which are very valid issues that people should be concerned about. And you take a kernel of truth, like legitimate things like that, and when you pull people in with the real stuff, then you push them over into the grifty stuff, into the fake stuff, into the scammy stuff. That's when you push people into the anti-vax stuff. And once you get them hooked, once you get them in with that truth, then you're able to launch throw the disinformation at them. And that's how kind of this entire MAHA movement kind of operates. And as Ben kind of implied before, it's such a devious thing because it's playing on people's kind of primal emotions and their biggest fears about safety, not only for themselves, but for their children. And so if you hook somebody in, by saying warning against ultra processed foods, legitimate, right? All those sorts of things. But then you start saying, don't vaccinate your kids. And the reason you're saying don't vaccinate your kids is because if you do that, they say, it will kill your kids. All of a sudden right now, you are being incredibly manipulative and you are taking advantage of a person who is worried about their kids, who doesn't want to see harm done to their kids. And they trust you at this point. So they listen to you. And then they view anybody who's giving them the real information that vaccines are overall very safe. They view those people as attacking their kids. And that's how their worldview gets, very skewed. And we enter a very dangerous place. The irony, of course, is that under the guise of helping to, quote, protect your kids, people like RFK Jr. are actually making life much more dangerous for your kids. They're putting your kids' life at risk, which is why we're seeing these measles outbreaks across the country, which is why we're seeing these diseases come back that we haven't seen in many, 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 many years. I mean, it's obviously, it's all connected. And I think one of the biggest ironies also is that these people are also propping up industries that are, these kind of corporate big pharma sort of industries, like the whole idea of don't take the vaccine, but take ivermectin, which is also a big pharma product. I don't know how that's owning big pharma. You're giving the money to somebody else for something that's not proven to help with this thing at all. And now this is just the extreme version of this, right? Putting pesticides into food, increasing the production of these things, which many believe, studies show, causes cancer, kills people. I mean, that's the MAHA movement. I mean, the whole thing is just a total fraud.
That's why we say too, they're bad people. The entire ecosystem of the Trump regime. They are genuinely bad people. They don't care about the American person. They don't want them to actually be healthier. They don't want Americans to have healthcare. They don't care. They don't want to make things more affordable. They don't care about you. It's who could be the next Mark and how can I take their money or how can I use them to enrich myself? I mean, that's just the common theme that I've seen. I think we've all seen here from anyone in the Trump regime.
Yeah. And I want to, it's interesting. What we're just seeing though, how someone like Governor Wes Moore from Maryland, kind of deals with this, right? What's Trump's latest thing is that a sewage spill in the Potomac, which is on federal land, which is federal waters, which is somehow the governor of Maryland's fault and that he's to blame when Governor Wes Moore sent people from Maryland to help with the cleanup because that's what neighbors do. Then Trump blames the neighbor and says, you caused it, which is literally psychotic behavior, right? Literally, can we help you as a neighbor? And then Trump, you did it. You're the reason for this. And what we have to be able to do, though, is with Trump and these lunatics just continuing to make up stuff. What in California was it? That the reason for the fires and that they weren't put out is that Gavin Newsom refused to turn the faucet. And there was a faucet in Northern California connected to Canada. And Donald Trump had to take the faucet and turn it and then release the water. And then that's what ultimately stopped the fire, and he saved everything. It's such a demented lie that logical minds trying to argue with it. It's the issue of having to disprove a negative, because it's even having to engage with it somehow kind of puts you on the level of having a conversation that this is even a thing. There's no faucet. It's not connected. What are you even talking about? You have no clue what you're saying. This water is not in the next iteration of accountability, we truly have to guard adulting. We have to guard truth and logic zealously, like frankly, with our lives. And the moment someone starts veering, we need to call them out immediately to their face, and we could all take part in that. This experience of accountability, because it's crazy land. And so watch Governor Westmore the other day addressing Donald Trump's issue of you caused the sewage spill in the Potomac. Here, play this clip.
Which was this?
Oh, what the governor was. There's such a long lead. It's such a long lead up. Again, you leave.
I thought you might just be describing it. I don't have that clip.
You don't have the Governor Westmore clip?
No.
All right. Well, in any event, what about? Do you have the Pritzker clips?
No.
Okay. Well, in that time, everybody will see. No, I'm just joking. But in all seriousness, though, then I'll leave everybody with this thought. When Donald Trump says that the deficit has dropped, 78% and the trade deficit dropped 78%, we know that that's a lie as well. You want to look at what the actual data is. The actual data is that the U.S. trade deficit widened to $70.3 billion in December. Donald Trump says it decreased by 70%. No, it widened by $70.3 billion in December, pushing the full year gap to $901.5 billion. Okay, you can go through any one of these stats, and they're not lining up in a positive direction. And what you have is the Epstein class covering up for the Epstein class, while layers of accountability are needed. I mean, do y'all remember when we report when the news was reporting Donald Trump giving Patriot weapons to Ukraine? Donald Trump, he's cut a deal with Germany. Remember what we were saying here on the MeidasTouch Network? Bullshit, not happening. It's all a lie. He's not going to do it. Stop reporting these things. Well, some of the latest reporting, and Zelensky's saying, that the U.S. promised Europe licenses to produce Patriot missiles, then refused. Germany now has no air defense missiles left to give Ukraine. And Zelensky says it didn't have to be this way. There were promises of licenses, but the Americans ultimately didn't go along with it. The word of Trump in this regime is meaningless. That's why you don't see anybody showing up to the Board of Peace that actually, our former allies who actually care. They're not showing up because Trump's word is meaningless. And when we think about what went down, I'll leave us with this, over the past 48 hours in Geneva during the trilateral discussions between Ukraine, the United States, and Russia. I mean, it just goes to show you it was a setup from the outset. You had the United States and Russia were going to gang up on Ukraine. Ukraine brought in France and the UK in order to be shoulder to shoulder and represent the UK interest and the European Union interest. Russia brought in this guy, Medensky, a new negotiator, just shows up, was not even negotiating. They spend the time where the Russian guy literally reads his own version of a history lesson about why Ukraine belongs to Russia. So the entire time is spent with this Medensky guy basically lecturing the history of why he believes the Russian Empire includes Ukraine and why Ukraine should not be independent and sovereign. Waste of a time. While that's taking place, Russia is launching one of its largest Shahed drones, ballistic missile and cruise missile strikes into Kyiv, Kharkiv, Odessa, throughout all of Ukraine. And Donald Trump is saying, you better move, Zelensky. You better make your move. You better get it done. It's Zelensky's fault. Russia's moved. Russia's made big steps, but it's Zelensky. You're not doing it. Zelensky's made every step. Zelensky's agreed to hold elections for himself. He's agreed to a referendum to give up most of eastern Ukraine, or Donbass, but lots of eastern Ukraine, to Russia. Zelensky said, we need a 30 to 45-day ceasefire in order to assemble these pieces, because we can't do elections or we can't do referendums on land, and it has to go to the people. Ukraine is sovereign. He goes, I can't give up eastern Ukraine. I don't want to. But ultimately, if Ukrainians want to give it up, I'm happy to put it to a vote, but it's got to be a free and fair vote. And we need a ceasefire so that we aren't getting attacked when this is happening. Russia doesn't even agree to that. So there's no negotiating with these people. When Donald Trump says, oh, we're in phase 2 of the ceasefire in Gaza, there's no ceasefire. Hundreds of innocent Palestinians have been killed. Also, Hamas has been killed, and they're not innocent, and they deserve to be brought to justice. But there have been women and children and parents by the hundreds who have been killed in Palestine, in Gaza, since the so-called ceasefire has been announced. There's no ceasefire taking place. And now we're on the precipice of war with Iran. As I mentioned before, 2 aircraft carrier groups are there. We have a huge armada right there. We don't have the support of our normal allies. It's just the U.S. and Israel basically going it alone. What's being described as what could take place is a protracted war starting in March through the end of the summer. We could be in a massive war with boots on the ground in a fight against Iran. Iran said, if you strike us, we're going to go after all of the assets nearby, military assets and other assets nearby. And that could be the foreseeable future. And there's no discussion with the American people about what the hell is happening. There's no transparency about what's going on. It's not even being talked about, right? Like, do you remember back, with every other major war, there would at least be like discussions and attempts at letting people know what the hell was happening, even though a lot of times there were lies that brought us into war. And in any event, wasn't the whole pitch that there were not going to be more wars? Peace is war, war is peace, 1984, Orwell. And Orwell, you could say, was Nostradamus, or you could say he was a historian and he knows this is how authoritarians behave. And Trump has his board of peace where he's talking about war with Iran during his board of peace. Do we have the photos of the bubbleologist, Brett? Just so I can show people what the bubbleologists look like. There's the bubbleologist.
There you go.
Megan makes bubbles. There it is.
Don't be so hard on Brett, man. He produces and hosts at the same time, and you threw him off with the bubbleologist.
I did throw the bubbleologist. I think threw everything off, to be honest with you.
Great shot.
Just show the bubbles one more time. I want people to. Okay, so there's Megan. She makes bubbles, and I got the easiest question wrong, which is like she goes, "Do you?" She goes, "Do you think that if I make a bubble with the star shape, it will be a circle or a star?"
Yikes! Yikes! That's a tough one.
Yeah,
Let's zoom in on Ben here.
I said, "I don't know. I think it's going to be a triangle." And she's like, "No, they make circles, but the reality is that they make spheres." And then she made little clouds in the bubbles, and so in any event.
She has. The room looks like it's filled with toddlers. So you answered on behalf of the toddlers and you got the question wrong.
Ben's like, I know this one.
Yeah, I know. Yes. Have you ever seen have you ever seen a star-shaped bubble?
I thought the question was open to the entire.
Sounds a bit like a Billy Madison situation.
Have I ever seen a star bubble?
Yeah.
She was doing so many bubble tricks that she set me up.
Oh, like you thought her skill level, because she is a bubbleologist, she was able to make more sense.
She was going to be able to, because some of the bubbles looked like hearts.
Got it.
But I was there with Jimena, and I was answering on behalf of the family, but I let us
vindicated. I get
Anyway, thank you everybody so much for watching this episode of the MeidasTouch Podcast. We appreciate you. We're so close to 6 million subscribers. Thanks everybody for watching. Let's get to 6 million. Join, become a member, get your Meidas merch at store.meidastouch.com. We have great, really cool Meidas gear, store.meidastouch.com. Check out our Substack, MeidasPlus.com. And we'll see you all, again, videos throughout the day that I'll be dropping, but also we'll see you at the boycott of the State of the Union, the People's State of the Union. Stay strong and thank your local bubbleologist. See you next time.
Shout out to the Meidas Mighty.
The Meidas Mighty standing strong against the fascists. We sing our song. We will get it right whenever.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.